map going to be Nepal. Different look, I guess, is a different take, you know, given the fact that this is the best of 5. We're starting here with Control. We'll go into Hollywood after, and then onto Horizon after that, and we'll see if we need Junkertown and an Oasis, but that's yet to be determined. Starting things off here, we've got a pretty interesting composition here. Going to be a 3-tank for those guys. Kib going onto the Junkrat. Something similar for Piece of Cake. Naga likes to play this Pharah, though, and we've seen this before, especially to try to counter out these tanks. You know, given the fact that there's a Junkrat in play, he's going to be able to have a little bit of room to work with, but we've seen this before. Pharah sometimes just doesn't have enough time to get things done, and that looks like it's already starting off to be the same thing here. The pressure was onto Chubbs initially. He goes down. Naga gets ripped apart by Craggy on the Zarya as well, and that's a first cap quick and efficient by those guys.
And we've seen in the past Piece of Cake, okay, this composition on Village can really work because he split the enemy's attention with Poppy Fresh on the side on that Tracer and Naga from Disguise on that Pharah, but man, when you have to go up against those guys, seems like it's that much more difficult. Kib on that Junkrat, still as strong as ever, will be able to pick up Poppy Fresh in that first team fight. We'll see whether or not he can get something else done as Naga picks up a big kill onto Crusade. A huge support at that, as that lack of healing could really bite those guys in this next team fight. A second kill onto Naga. Poppy Fresh gets another one. Kib finds him, however, but it's not gonna matter as Colsey picks up Happy Cool. Naga with another kill. And just like that, we're gonna have a point swap.
You have to wonder if they're gonna make any kind of adjustments or if they want to keep Kib on this Junkrat. I have to imagine they're gonna want to change things up, and that is gonna be the case. They're gonna put Kib on the Tracer, and remember what kind of impact Craggy has had on this particular character, that Kib is gonna be on this, keeping Craggy on the Zarya, and now they're gonna be bringing that Tracer into play, putting some pressure onto the Zenyatta in the back, and that's going to force out the Transcendence quite early here.
We'll see the Coalescence. Oh, Earth Shatter coming out of Chubbs. Picks up quite a few on the ground, actually, but is it going to be enough as Poppy Fresh is going to pick up the first kill? Halfical answers with one of his own onto Colsey. Craggy gets another. Graviton is at the ready, so this should be a teamfight win for those guys eventually once the dust settles, but it's not over just yet as Naga still finds Crusade in that engage. Poppy Fresh is going to get caught up by the Graviton. There it is.
That's a grab.
Lead up for those guys, and they will get the point back in their favor.
That was a quick one at that, but still, this is a tough matchup here for Kib as he's on the Tracer. I expect that he wants to stay away from these Tracer duels here because while he is a fantastic player himself, he's going up against Poppy Fresh. Poppy Fresh is insane on the Tracer. It's going to be a tough matchup to play against. If it was Craggy, I'd give him a little bit more, you know, I'd have a little bit more reassurance in this. But now Colsey going to be taken out early by Craggy. No Graviton for them, but they do have Dridro on the Mercy. This is something that we're going to see from them quite a bit, but he's not opting to res. There's just no safety net when you go for it, and slowly but surely, those guys are ripping down the competition, and as time goes down, this is just a better situation, more more for those guys here.
Especially with those late staggered kills, and really nicely done to make sure they get Colsey to start things off in that team fight. He was lying in wait with that Graviton, which could have been enough to potentially get that point back in Piece of Cake's favor, but now that time's ticking away, we will see 90% already built on by the point. One potential last team fight here for Piece of Cake. They need to make this grab work as Coalescence is going to keep them healthy for now. Rocket Barrage will be used, and now Graviton's going to catch two. Is it going to be enough though? As Havical picks up a kill. Kib gets a double off of the Pulse Bomb. Answer in return, come back and Poppy Fresh is not going to be enough. And those guys start off really strong here on Nepal.
What a way to start off. I mean, they looked dominant in that one. Yeah, they lost the point there for a bit, but the composition at the beginning just was not in their favor at all. Kib was on a Junkrat as opposed to Naga, who came through on a Pharah, and that's basically an inherent counter. I mean, that's a given hard counter 99 times out of 100, I would say. But then he switches over to a Tracer, and that's another situation that you would think, you know, maybe this is something that, you know, wouldn't necessarily work out given the fact that Poppy Fresh has been so consistent on the Tracer himself. But then Kib just kind of avoids that Tracer duel as much as he can, and only really kind of goes for it when he has a significant advantage. Poppy Fresh took him out once in the beginning, so after that it was just all about putting pressure on the supports, and that was all they really needed to get an advantage in some of these tank-heavy fights.
And this is really interesting here out of Piece of Cake. They will have Chubbs set up on that Orisa, but no other tank line here for them will mean that the rest of those guys are gonna just go ahead, speed boost their way into a team fight. We'll see Kib pick up the first kill onto Chubbs, and without set shield and frontline here for Piece of Cake, they just have no space. Kib picks up a second kill onto Colsey, and already looking on point, poised to take Nepal.
Speaking of on point, that's an easy capture for them. They're going to keep going forward, take some more kills, slowly but surely staggering out Piece of Cake once again. And on Nepal so far, it just has not looked good for these guys, Piece of Cake. And remember, they do have... Who are they bringing in here, actually? Oh yeah, Colsey, that's who it is,
yes.
Isn't it? And he's playing the soldier for them, so it's a different look right now, as Chubbs is going to be playing this, and I think this is what they played before, where they play this solo tank on this particular map, and they just play this kind of poking style, where they go in, they attack, they pull out, try to get everybody healed up, while they just kind of allow Colsey and Naga to put as much damage out as they possibly can. But this is something that, if you're not very safe in every type of poke that you make from all these different angles of threat, those guys should be able to dismantle this one by one by one, and that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what they're doing. They're just focusing targets down one at a time, staying safe throughout, without the need for an Orisa. All they have to use is the barrier shield, or barrier field rather, from Fusions on the Reinhardt. They've been able to stack up ults like crazy so far. Should have a Riptire coming up. They'll have Graviton, and this could be quite possibly the last fight, depending on how it plays out, with the Transcendence from Marine Lord ready to go as well.
We'll see the attack visor come out of Colsey, looking to get something done. Transcendence will not be used, however, no angles available for him, means he's just gonna pump those rounds into that shield. Kib finds Marine Lord before he uses that Transcendence, so a huge pick at that, and with that Riptire available as well, he's gonna wait it out for now. Sound Barrier used by Dredger, trying to make something happen. Graviton was in the way though, and the self-destruct just gonna secure that particular kill onto Chubbs. Poppy Fresh finds nothing. Kib gets a double, and it's those guys with an even more dominating win here on Nepal in that second round.
It's disingenuous to say that he found nothing. He certainly found himself. He put he put it on the side of the Reinhardt shield. Fusions flicked it right over, whether it be on purpose or on accident. Caught Poppy Fresh off guard, I think, and he just went down after that. But this coordination between the Zarya and Fusions, I mean, Craggy has really kind of stepped up in this regard, while Kib has been playing the DPS, and I definitely think they're looking fantastic today, but they have to get through Hollywood next, and that's going to come up right after this commercial break.
a very dominant way by those guys to open things up, so to say. It didn't seem like Piece of Hate had a chance in this match. I mean, they won a single fight on Village, and that's about it.
Unfortunately for them, they will go down really quickly, already returned to the desk. We will see them, however, go up next on Hollywood. So that's going to be an interesting one. Just a few things to take back from that previous round is the fact that overall, it seems like Piece of Cake are really not as coordinated, a bit overcommitting when it comes to those ultimates, whereas we did see, especially in that second round, we only needed the likes of Coalescence to shut down both the Riptire and the Pulse Bomb coming out from the offensive side, and just really good discipline as well out of those guys to make sure they don't overlap when it comes to those ultimates and stagger them out so they keep on winning all the different team fights.
Also, Kip had a good showing on Junkrat, I'd say, but it's just map number 1. I mean,
Warming up.
They're just warming up. We can just forget about Nepal and focus on Hollywood, so to say. I think Piece of Cake is going to play way better on this one.
You would hope so, because if they wish to really take a win on this series, they need to get one potentially here and right now, and we'll see whether or not they can make it happen. Of course, I would expect to see a lot more Junkrat, but maybe some Widowmaker in that middle phase of Hollywood.
Yeah, Widowmaker could definitely work on this map, especially on the second point. Now, coming into this matchup, what do you think we should still see? Do you think it's going to be a quick match yet again, or do you think Piece of Cake is actually going to wake up?
If Piece of Cake are gonna be able to regroup and say, okay, let's just put that behind us, so let's focus on the match at hand, they can definitely put up a good fight, but I hope they're not gonna be phased out too much by that previous dominant loss.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. The match seems to be ready. Let's go.
Start things off here. Colsey going to be back on a tank role as opposed to the soldier that we saw him on Nepal Sanctum just a moment ago. But defending first, it'll be those guys, and Craggy is on a soldier here himself. Kib has flexed over to the Zarya, and these guys are both obviously quite good at the Zarya. And you talked about before how they can both flex to Roadhog as well. I mean, that's the thing about this composition that I think is so scary, is that with the versatility that you get out of your DPS here between Craggy and Kib, and how efficient they are, not only at their given roles of playing all of those DPS characters, and then on top of that, all of the off-tank flex roles as well. That's what I think makes them so scary, especially in this current meta where you're going to need to be flexible in some regard. Especially given the fact that a lot of these compositions are going to be based on 3 tank, and then having your other DPS fill in what is needed.
And we will see so far no real advantage gained by either side, as Chubb's going to be the first one to go really, really low. However, will manage to recover with the help of his team, and we will see 2 DPS over on the side of the Piece of Cake lineup, with Poppy Fresh once again on their Tracer, looking to dish out quite a bit of damage. Marine Lord is going to be the first one to open up with a Coalescence, looking to get a possible advantage, especially with Funny Astro being pretty low, but the Earth Shatter coming out of the defensive side will look to potentially shut 2 members down. Both supports at that here for Piece of Cake. Colsey hold up with another kill coming out of Craggy. Will push the rest of this Piece of Cake lineup towards their spawn.
The crazy thing is here is that, you know, with Poppy Fresh going over to the Tracer, you want to say that this is probably their best look. Not only is Poppy Fresh really strong on Tracer, but, you know, maybe they can exploit some kind of vulnerability in their backline, you know, take a couple different angles, like they tried to do on Nepal Sanctum, but with a better execution, they might be able to pull it off here, especially with Gravitons and Pulse Bombs coming through. But that's just, like, not fair to say, really, because as good as these DPS are, the whole team is rock solid, and that's what's scary. Graviton coming down here from Kib, though. They're looking to try to follow it up, get some more damage off. A little bit more cleave coming in now for Fusion, so he has an opportunity to lay them flat. Goes with it, only lands down 1, and Happycool comes through for the squad. It's going to be a massive 2K, or sorry, just a 1 kill. He killed off the Riptire too, so denying the damage that was going to come through inside that Graviton. So good job there from Happycool. They almost died there.
Oh man, and pushing in very aggressively here by the defensive side of those guys. Maybe a bit reminiscent of the back in the days with Selfless. I remember so many times on Hollywood they kept on bullying those teams back towards the spawn over the North American side, but we'll see. At the very least, Ridro will be good to go with that Sound Barrier. A lot of ultimates still available here for Piece of Cake, so maybe off of the back of the Earth Shatter they can make something happen, but no, it's not going to find anything. Coalescence going to be the first kill here secured for Crusade, and it's all about those guys. They continue to steamroll their way towards another team fight win, and Piece of Cake just struggling to make something happen.
And Fusions is almost on his third Earth Shatter. I mean, if he lands a Fire Strike here, gets like 2 people with it, he'll be able to go for a third Earth Shatter this early on. He's been averaging them very, very quickly. I think about a minute now for him. That's an insane pace to keep up, especially when you have to put them out that fast too. Charge comes out outside of the Graviton crib, or that Kib put down there, and they're looking to try to follow up again. Not going to look like that's going to happen, and Fusions is taking down pretty low. They need to keep him up so that he can pull out the Earth Shatter and lay them flat again. That's going to be the Riptire now for Naga. He was denied last time. They're looking for a kill. They find Kib, but he already threw out his Graviton, so perhaps there was a better target. In the meantime, though, Craggy does back them up with the Attack Visor. Still has a great angle to play with, though, and Fusions goes ahead with that Earth Shatter there finally.
And shuts down Marine Lord, and that's the big healer here for a Piece of Cake. And with 32 seconds remaining now, we'll see that Coalescence still available for a Piece of Cake, but nothing else really. And now that they might get staggered further, this is very disastrous for them. Even though Craggy didn't get too much work done off of that Attack Visor, he's already at 43%. Now Kib coming back on that Tracer will look to dish out quite a bit of damage, but it's not over just yet, as Marine Lord will be using that Coalescence, look to push an advantage for his team. So far, no tech still achieved, remember. Fusion's going really low, but somehow still alive. Craggy finds the first kill of the fight onto Naga. Poppy Fresh with another one, but it's gonna be the Earth Shatter come out. However, Colsey, Marine Lord, can they somehow still do it? We will see Havical on the point, still finding it out with the like of Kip, as he will eventually be the last member for those guys still alive. Overtime kicking in. First tech finally going through, but this is really, really close here for Piece of Cake.
Well, Kib got his Pulse Bomb up, and I'm waiting to see it. Okay, they're not going to actually engage this, so he's just taking time off the clock, and he'll come away with that Pulse Bomb. I imagine he'll come back with Tracer because he wants to use that. Craggy's still sticking to this Soldier pick, going for high ground control, and that was something that worked out for them on the first point, was that high ground control, because nobody could really contest Craggy. The only time he finally got thrown down was Naga getting super aggressive. He lost his own life, but at least it put him down where, you know, Marine Lord and Poppy Fresh could put some pressure on him and finally take that kill. And now they don't have really any way to deal with him, and this is going to become a big problem here where they don't have a lot of time left on the clock, 2 minutes, and it's just, again, another situation where those guys starts taking kills one by one over time, really taking the time down.
And Craggy again coming in with that Attack Visor, will be able to find a kill onto Dridro, gets a second one onto Jumps, making that a third onto Naga, and just like that, back to the spawn you go, Piece of Cake, as Kip is gonna just greet the opposition, still close to that Pulse Bomb. Just delay things even further for them, and this is really bad here for a Piece of Cake. They even got split up there in that previous team fight by Havicles, Meg Matrix, Colsty. It's all by his lonesome self, making it a 6v5. And now Naga will look to turn things around with that Riptire. Maybe to contest that high ground. No, he's gonna still look for targets, but it's gonna be a 1-for-1. Havicle finds him in the meantime, and now Soundbarrier used by both sides. Coalescence on top of it though. And we'll see who can come out on top, as it's still equal in terms of those numbers.
Havicle holding onto this self-destruct, waiting for these guys to kind of come forward. And once he does, he can just throw it into the back line, deny their supports, and then start going on the aggressive for their tanks. Kib goes down there by Poppy Fresh. And again, you have to kind of wonder if he wants to stick onto that or if he wants to go into the Genji here, perhaps. And now with the Graviton coming down from Piece of Cake, they're looking to follow it up, find some more kills inside of it. And Naga being on that Junkrat is a huge pickup, as they, of course, will be able to easily clean that up. And now we do see Kib making the swap. He's going to go over to the Zarya, which should certainly help out Fusions in this Reinhardt v Reinhardt matchup that he was winning pretty handily, I would say, so far throughout this series. But now with Kib on the Zarya, they'll be able to kind of shore up the issues that they might have seen in that last fight, where Chubbs was just enabled a little bit better, I would say.
And we'll see. Naga gets to go with the Riptire. That could be the decider here for this next team fight. Now being used, the Coalescence was used early as well. And still finds a kill to Funny Astro. A 2-for-1. Naga does get hunted down, but that might not be enough. However, Attack Visor will be popped by Craggy. Can you find those targets? All those tanky members of Piece of Cake still available and alive on the point, though. Means that they will continue to push that payload, and through overtime, they still get it in the end. As Craggy will go down, Fusions finds one kill of his own alongside Kib, but now with Funny Astro on top, but really nicely done by Piece of Cake to eventually, at the very least, get it in the end.
Naga has really been helping them control these fights to quite a large degree right now, as with these rip tires, they've had hefty advantages going into each and every engagement that they've taken for the last 2 fights. And that's big, especially taking Craggy out when he has high ground control, pulling him down, taking him out, then taking out and pressuring both supports, and then finally getting the kill on the Funny Astro in the last one. That was a big pickoff to get. Now engaging here with the Sound Barrier, they have also Kolsty's Graviton, but again, another pick from Naga to start the fight off.
And we'll see them maybe commit for the Reinhardt. They will get that 1 kill in the end. Fusion's going down. Now Chubbs looking for a kill onto Hafiko, and with Craggy going down as well. It's another team fight win, a big one at that here for a Piece of Cake, looking to push their advantage. So many ultimates available for them as well. If they can get a good Graviton off, that could be enough, as we will see Sound Barrier now used. Graviton's going to pull everyone away, but not quite far enough. Pulse Bomb, though, it's going to secure the kill onto Funny Astro. Nobody on the payload, and they managed to pull through in the end.
And I think they did it before overtime kick, so after almost looking like they were going to be stopped completely on the first objective, they somehow finish it, and not only do they finish it, but they also finish it with 13 seconds left, meaning that if it goes into overtime, or rather when it goes into or past regulation play and they have to go for another tick on the first point, they'll have that minute to play with. They'll have that extra bit of time. Might come down to extra time from the opposition. You know, they might get an extra 47 seconds or less or whatever, but still they've given themselves a chance, and I think that's insane considering what we were seeing on the first point. And I think perhaps a couple of mistakes in the second and third stage, probably the third stage I would say primarily, were the mistakes from those guys to allow that to happen, because they looked so good, the time bank was so low. And then you only take, what, 1, maybe 2 fights. It was like 1 3/4 of a fight in the third stage. And I think they gave them too much ground in that stage. But nonetheless, as they go on their attack, they look dominant in the first stage. I imagine on their attack they should look that again. But something that should be noted here is going to be Drijo pulling out the Ana. And we have seen Drijo on this particular character before. You know, typically throughout the tournament, throughout most of this man's career, you know, we've seen him a lot on Mercy memes, but he's actually quite a decent Ana, I would say, and that was a question mark that I had before, you know, when they played their last matchup to even get to this point. But he pulled the Ana out and looked quite good on it. I mean, you know, his communication with his team is quite good. When he does get some sleep darts here and there, they're able to, you know, be able to execute off of it, find some kills, get that advantage. And then also the biotic grenades. Those are so important in this kind of meta right now, where, you know, healing out your tanks is everything. If you can deny that healing, especially onto someone like a Roadhog, which Kib is bringing through, that's very impactful in these matchups.
And Funny Astro again, the first one to be picked off here, as Chubbs snipes him out with that Fire Strike. They get a 6v5, and already pushing in aggressively. We'll see the rest of Piece of Cake try to build up an ultimate advantage and have a potential good defensive hold themselves, as Naga's gonna be getting close to that Riptire, already 93%, so might see him just use it straight up in this next team fight. But the hook is gonna be good onto Dridro. Very nice catch there by Kib. He's gonna secure 1 kill for his team. However, Riptire now finally out to play. Can it find the targets it needs, as Cover's gonna be going for a right. Poppyfresh gets a kill, and Kib does find that particular tire in the end, so no kills from that, but we'll see that Coalescence to be enough to push out an advantage here, as Kolsty picks out Havoc. 1 tick already achieved though by those guys, as we'll see the rest of Piece of Cake now finally collapsing. Naga goes down, but Craggy does take 1 kill in return. Kib's still alive, but Poppyfresh still fragging out on this Tracer. Will be able to eventually shut down this push.
They're coming with the Graviton Surge as well. Craggy just not able to keep up with the pace that Kolsty was able to keep for himself there, and that's going to be very big in this next fight, especially as they do have a nano boost that could potentially hold this for a moment, allow their tanks to get their ultimates out, and then perhaps put it onto Naga to get his Riptire up in this next fight, or give it to one of their tanks to be able to get theirs up quick as well. But they instead put it on the Chubbs. They're going to get aggressive. They only find the kill on Diffusions, and he already does have his ultimate, so they're not going to be you know, getting anything done in terms of their ult economy with this nano boost, but they're still going to be able to pull away with the fight win. 2 minutes now remaining on the clock, and a lot of ults stacking up now for those guys.
They should definitely have all of those resources and making it in their advantage in the end. But Naga with a well-placed, well-timed Riptide could shut this down, but the Graviton into the combo. It's gonna be the bigger bang. Havical picks up a double kill. The Riptide is gonna come through, not find anything as Havical gets a third kill this time around. And with Fusions getting Marine Lord as well, it's gonna be all about those guys using their ults effectively, picking out the team fight win, and getting that payload started on Hollywood.
So, you know, typically you often say, especially in a competitive match, you know, when everything's heated and everything's being target called and everything, you'll target call something as being one, as in 1 health or 1 bar or whatever. Craggy got away from that Riptire literally with 1 HP left on his Zarya after that Riptire went off. But now getting into this next one, Kib going forward, looking to try to get a pick off this off angle here. Has Whole Hog available, so could throw them back, but Chubb's now looking for that opportunity, especially with Colsty getting close to that Graviton. He wants to lay them down with that Earth Shatter. He does get it onto Happy-Cool, but that won't matter much in the end, especially as Kib hooks him out. That opens things up for Fusions. He pulls out the Earth Shatter, but now it's about cleaning up. Can't they even get it done, especially as Naga already found these kills. Graviton comes down. That's just an easy fight for a piece of cake, especially with that Junkrat. And now they're surging back with the Coalescence from Crusade. They're not finding any kills just yet. Naga will fall, and everybody is pretty low here. So now they're going to try to collate around this backside near this Mega Health Pack, get some heals from everybody. And Chubbs is going to go forward. They're kind of overextending themselves now to try to support them. And if Kip can stay healthy, they might be able to kind of exploit this a little bit.
And we'll see Pop Fresh try and find an angle with the Pulse Bomb. Doesn't get his target down, however, and Chubbs now really low. Doesn't have too much left in terms of that shield as well. Kip lying in wait out front to the side. A lot of ultimates still being built up though for those guys as Fusion picks up a kill with the Fire Strike, making it a 6v3 now as Happy Cool and Funny Astro getting 1 each of their own. And Colsey will try to just delay things a little bit further on this payload, but not going to be quite enough. And at the very least, they will have their Graviton ready as well. It's not going to be only those guys, but with so many resources available in terms of those ult economies, should be looking to get this checkpoint as well. Chubbs, gets stopped as well with the Graviton. It's just easy pickings now for those guys that will clean it up. Only that Graviton committed as well. And with 3 minutes remaining, those guys definitely looking poised to still have a better time here on this last part of Hollywood.
But it's all about how quickly and efficiently they can get through this last stage. They haven't had a fight just yet, but it could, if it winds up being successful for them, it could just be 2 fights away, and they could end up with about 2 minutes or maybe just a little bit less if a stall comes out. Now they're waiting on Craggy to try to get another one of those Gravitons because that last one was massive. But there's the Earth Shatter to come in from Fusions. They're going to clean this one up. Marine Lord trying to turn things around, but the Coalescence I don't think is powerful enough. He's going to fall to Crusades, who pulls his out to try to get some healing off as well. Poppy Fresh winds up recalling. They see him in the back without the recall cooldown ready to go, and nobody's helping. Oh, they finally turn around to help Crusade, and they burst Poppy Fresh down.
It's going to come down to whether or not that Graviton is going to secure a turnaround here as they will try to fight on the payload. However, the D.Va line getting way out of Havical is going to make things difficult. Oh! There it is! Gobble it up once again. So many sated D.Vas throughout the tournament as Kip picks up a double kill. Havical was waiting for that one, man, as it's easy cleanup for those guys. And a last point secure.
That was so smart from Happy Cool. He just waited in, and you saw the Zarya just staring at the floor. Oftentimes, that's a dead giveaway that a Zarya is going to be popping a Graviton Surge because they want to throw it low to try to get around a D.Va Matrix that might be positioned a little bit higher or whatever. And maybe the fact that Colsty is not typically a Zarya player might have made that a little bit more of a giveaway. You know, maybe he doesn't have that proficiency at the level where he's just going to be able to kind of slyly sneak in one of those Gravitons where the defense matrix still has a little bit of juice. But we've seen that from even some of the best Zaryas that the EU scene has to currently offer right now, where they've gotten gobbled up. I mean, even yesterday, Finzi had 2 that just got taken out of play by defense matrix. So it's not, you can't really put the blame on him, but certainly huge play from Happy Cool to kind of see that and then sense the play come in and deny it outright. Gave them a fantastic time to work with their extra time on the clock. They are allotted 3 minutes and 4 seconds in total and now they only have to hold out for a minute against Piece of Cake, who is attacking now. And Naga currently is on the Pharah. Again, they really like to bring this out. If he winds up sticking with this, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dridro on the Mercy, and there is the swap right there.
And considering the lack of success that they faced when they went on that first point offense the first time around, not too surprised that they will look to swap things around, potentially get something done here, as Craggy will at the very least make things life a little bit difficult here for Naga, but Naga finding a big kill off onto Crusade, as the lack of healing, the staying power will be lessened for sure. Now Hunting Craggy gets another one, and that is indeed the pick they were looking for, as Funny Astro also really low, already on the point, close to that first tick. Piece of Cake looking to still fight it all out here on Hollywood.
This is such perfect execution from Piece of Cake. The set play that they were trying to make here is, not only do we want to bring Dridro over on the Mercy, we think that he has more of an impact on that particular hero, especially when we can get Valk off, have a little bit more damage alongside the Zenyatta with the Discord Orb, so that we can take these tanks down. But on top of that, we're betting that Craggy won't be able to take down our Pharah if we deny the sightline over top of security, and then wait for an opportunity to put a Discord Orb onto the inherent counter of the soldier, and then just go straight at him. Land a quick body shot that takes Craggy right out of the picture, and that's a quick barrage for Naga as well, as they're looking to try to secure this fight to keep this overtime push going forward.
We'll see whether or not they'll be successful, as so far it's a 2-for-1, or rather Hafical only losing the mech. Now Chubb's gonna be brought back up. That Mercy is gonna be able to find that angle, and now it's all clean up here for Piece of Cake as they secure another team fight win. And with Craggy swapping over to the Tracer, nobody really available to contest that Pharah up in the sky. Made sure that now Hafical, even though he gets a kill onto Marine Lord, that's all they get. Crusade with a late staggered kill as well will secure quite a bit of distance here for Piece of Cake. And Colsty, now if he finds a good angle this time on that Graviton, that could secure things for another potential checkpoint reach for Piece of Cake.
Oh, Poppy Fresh, that's a massive pick, and I'm not sure why Kib thought he was going to be okay to just go out there all by himself when they're really kind of needing him in this next fight. I mean, Craggy does find a pick onto Marine Lord, which is huge, but Marine Lord doesn't have the Transcendence, so he wouldn't be able to protect from Kib, who brings in the Graviton here. But Poppy Fresh, massive kill inside of that. Craggy returning fire. Kib going to be coming back into this fight. He's just going to throw the grab down and catching Poppy Fresh. That'll be that, and they will secure this fight despite Kib going down pretty early. He does make it back in time to help secure it with Craggy, and that's the first look we've seen with Craggy on the Tracer again. Before it was Kib. But still, a lot of distance covered with just a minute in the time bank. Now you have to wonder if those guys may have lost their advantage.
Considering the fact that, at the very least, for Piece of Cake, they looked quite good on defense themselves while up until those last few stages, similarly to their opposition. But now, I'm curious to see whether or not we'll have a few swaps here and there when it comes to their composition. Over on the offensive side, of course, that Pharah for Naga definitely paying off in the end, and Deirdre will be going on that Ana once more, but Poppy Fresh will be sticking to the soldiers, so small alteration in their plans for now, as over on those guys' camp, no changes as of yet.
I do like Naga on the Junkrat. I mean, he has really cleaned things up and made things hard, especially for Funny Astro. I mean, we look back at their defense towards second and third stage, and then their first attack, Funny Astro had a little streak of just being picked off very early on and creating a disadvantaged 5v6, where those guys, it just becomes insurmountable at that stage, especially with your Lucio. You aren't able to bring fusions up and be aggressive because you don't have that speed boost to kind of control the pacing of that Reinhardt duel, which is very, very important in the Reinhardt duel. So now as they go forward, you don't have to necessarily worry about that, but they're certainly looking to try to deny Dridro again if they could. And that's going to come down to Kib if that's going to be at all possible.
And then we'll see Kib now being forced to disengage as the Bionade did connect on top. Chubb's now forced into a tough spot. Speed boost of fusions just surging forward. Funny Astro finds the first kill this time around, but gets returned one from Poppy Fresh, but it's a 2-for-1 in favor of those guys, and now that they're building up another advantage off of killing Naga. Marine Lord, they're gonna storm the point, and they should rapidly be getting that payload rolling.
But now it's all about continuing this assault. They go forward now, and remember that They don't get that extra time as it is a hybrid map, and they do have Crusade ready on this Coalescence. If they get aggressive here, they might be able to deny Colste's Graviton for just a minute, or just a little bit longer, which will be very huge. And Funny Astro certainly looking to get the sound barrier up, trying to keep up with the pace of that Graviton to see if maybe he could deny that himself. And they need to find an answer now for Naga, who has this high ground control with Poppy Fresh. They do need Happy Cool as well.
Nobody really able to contest that fair up in the sky alongside the Poppy Fresh now. Colsey gonna go ahead, use that Graviton, catch everybody inside, but no kill. It's gonna be Chubbs, the one who goes down. And now we will see Funny Aster pop that sound barrier. Havoc Cole finding that kill onto Colsey. Naga goes down, and with the Graviton, finding both the Mercy as well as the Soldier, those guys are still gonna come out on top with Happy Cole cleaning it up with a double kill. And now that payload coming oh so close to that checkpoint. It's gonna be really tough, but Chubbs really has to step things up. He needs to have a big impact with that Earth Shatter.
This is one of those moments where I would have liked to see Craggy try to hold on to that, because, you know, if they stay on the payload, they start pulling it forward. Yeah, you might, you know, lose a little bit of headway, but you'll still be able to get that payload going. You'll have the Graviton for the next fight, but now we'll have to see if they can get it done anyways.
Oh.
Havoc Cool coming back into mech. Crusade, luckily for them, is going to be able to have a ton of healing with this Coalescence. They find a couple of first kills, pinning Chubbs into a corner there as well. They'll have fusions ready with the Earth Shatter. They throw it out, but they don't need it. That's going to be those guys taking the second map, but this one was a heck of a lot closer.
Very nicely done by Happy Cole there. Nobody able to contest that Pharah. Never mind, Happy Cole is just gonna casually pick him out of the skies and just make things really difficult for the rest of the roster to collapse on top of that point. Nobody was able to contest at the end, and it will be those guys pick up a closer second map, but we'll be going over to another ad break. We will be right back with the third map. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back at the analysis desk. Piece of cake, looking definitely better in this one. But I feel like they are depending too much on Naga to actually make the plays. If he doesn't do it, they don't seem to move that much.
Just seems like without the success off of that particular player, be it on his Junkrat or this time around even on his Pharah, they just can't seem to make anything work, anything happen. And Poppy Fresh, he has been one of the standout tracers, but now with the tank-heavy lineups, he really isn't allowed to have as much success anymore.
On the other hand, we've also seen those guys making some mistake, like keep getting picked off, and also Funny Astro, but basically those were their only mistakes. So yeah, they definitely deserve the victory in that one. Now coming up next, we are going to go on Horizon. Are we going to see a trio?
It might definitely happen, unfortunately, for Piece of Cake, but speaking of Naga and how they need to rely on him, this is, again, one map, one of those maps where he can really shine. It can come down to those Junkrat battles, and against these tank-heavy lineups, if he can, again, charge up those rope tires quick, make quick work of the opposition when it comes to those supports, or maybe some of those frontline, depending on the ultimate advantages and everything, that could be the potential start of the turnaround here for Piece of Cake.
Yeah, also Fusions has been doing great for those guys. He's charging those Earth Shatters really quick, which is definitely making his team win the fights easier, so to say.
And
now,
half a cool diva.
Yeah, half a cool diva as well. I think Piece of Cake needs Poppy Fresh to wake up if they wanna bring this into fourth map, to say the least, because he isn't really performing on his level today, I'd say.
I would agree, and now that we will be moving on to Horizon, I'm curious to see whether or not we'll see more Ana at the Dridro. That can definitely come up when it comes to the defensive side for his point, as they could set themselves up on high ground, and if he gets a really good, well-timed and placed Bionade, it can shut down an offensive push. So it's going to be who is Poppy Fresh going to pick, and whether or not Dridro can also have a lot of success on something outside of the Mercy.
The match is ready, let's go.
So this is an interesting look. We have the Mei in play, I mean the typical Junkrat, but then you also bring out the Ana. You put a grenade up against a back wall from Craggy as it's put up, but the dive is coming out now actually on the offensive and bringing Naga back onto the fair. I think this is their best play so far. This is what they look the best at, so I think it's smart that they stick with this, but now it's all about putting pressure onto these supports, especially as they try to come back into the control area, and Naga is doing just that at the moment onto Bach.
And Bach did come in as a replacement for Funny Astro, which is something to note. He's been one of the best Anas and Sombras, I'd say, which can both come into play here on Horizon. But Coles is going to be frozen up, CC'd. However, Crusade is the first one to fall, but Fusions answers with a kill onto Colsty and another onto Chubbs. Craggy on that may be so annoying for this front line, but we'll still see Naga good to go with their Rocket Barrage. However, Nano Boost used onto Havical, looking to dish out the damage. Kib is going to find Poppy Fresh in the end, and they should be able to push the opposition away for now. And Crusade will be making the swap onto the Lucio as well.
And I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite choice for a Nano Boost to come out, but Bach decides he's going to put it out anyways, and again coming back is going to be Naga, and this is where things get dangerous because well, it'll start to stack up for Piece of Cake, and ideally if you lose the point you obviously just let it go, but Naga taking a little bit of pressure from Craggy, gets a little bit of healing, but Crusade still takes him down. Blizz are going to come out. They will be able to slow them down just a little bit. I think they're actually going to get the freeze on Chubbs. Now they need to find the kill, and they do secure it.
Will secure one tick on the checkpoint, however, here for the offensive side of Piece of Cake, and the answers still are coming from the defensive side of those guys. However, the Resurrect is going to come down. Chubbs back online. It's going to be only Craggy on that point, delaying things further with the wall as well, but he will eventually go down as Naga's going to find that kill. And the good thing here for Piece of Cake is the fact that they got the point, and they still have quite a few ultimates building up for them. Pulse Bomb available for Poppy Fresh, Marine Lord get to go to Transcendence, but Craggy is going to look to contest, especially Marine Lord, now that he's going to make the swap over to the Tracer himself.
You have to wonder what that would have looked like if maybe they had, you know, a Nano Boost in that fight. But nonetheless, Kib, Craggy making adjustments, Bach still sticking to this Ana. Positioning for Kib affords him the opportunity to go back into that area of invulnerability, which gives them a little space to work with, but unfortunately that also means that control is going to easily go over to the hands of Piece of Cake. Now Fusions tries to get onto the point, but how do you do that up against a Zenyatta where he just, you know, puts out that Discord Orb and you just get thrashed? I mean, you get ripped down so fast. They do actually find a way to pop the Transcendence now, and they're just going to come onto the point, try to stall it out for a little bit here. But Popifresh is just so efficient at finding these kills, especially with the Discords on him. He could just take him down with one clip a lot of times here, and this is going to be about a 5-minute take. 4:51 on the clock, just over 3 minutes to secure both objectives, and those guys have been dismantled.
But you gotta bring into question, as you said, maybe the nano boost, but as well that May. We've seen the likes of Craggy especially pick that one up when it comes to these assault maps, even on Hanamura first point. But when you could expect the likes of Farah onto Naga, is it still really just as strong? Yes, it can section off those tanks if they go for a quad tank lineup, but seemingly not too successful this time around. We'll see whether or not they will have a good offensive round themselves, and really well executed by Piece of Cake as well. To give them plenty of credit, because they managed to not only take that first point in a good enough time, they also did a good job when it comes to snowballing that into a second point take as well.
With the Ana in play and with the picks that they took up, you have to imagine, I mean, it's pretty much a dead giveaway that they thought that they were going to see a quad tank, or at least a triple tank, to be able to deny that. But that didn't happen, and I think that's something that maybe they kind of took for granted a little bit. The fact that Naga and Dridjo like to combine for the Fair Mercy, it's still a very solid pick, and especially against a team that doesn't often like to go for a hit scan early. Some teams do prefer to do that, but this is not one of them from those guys. So, I mean, it almost is expected. But the other case is that, you know, if you do expect the Fair Mercy and then tank comes, then you're really going to be affected by that. At least for them, they took a little bit of time at the clock. They were just, you know, down a whole bunch of momentum, you know, when they finally got to the second objective, and they weren't able to turn it back around. They lost control very early on. The tanks were so aggressive that it thrust everybody back to the spawn. So good play, honestly, from Chubbs, I would say, and Colsty to create that space and create that opportunity for them. But now, it's those guys' turn. They have a quad tank strat. Naga is going to be on the Genji, and Dridjo will be back on the Ana.
And it's somewhat of a dive com here being built up for Piece of Cake, as Dridjo will still look for those bionates, still look for those angles. So far, though, it's not going to be either side losing a member just yet. Opera still looking for those targets from up top, but Kip is going to find the first kill onto Chubbs. Colsey's going to follow too, and just like that, even though Naga still answering, picks up a double kill of his own. Is it going to be enough, as it will be those guys overall winning out in terms of those kills? Crusade picks up another one to Naga, but Crag is going to go down too, so a really interesting back and forth, however, with those tanky members of those guys on the point. Will be difficult for them to contest, but Fusions gets slapped. Very nice sleep dart coming out.
Oh, purple onto the Lucio. That's an easy pick-off for Popifresh to find, and they're coming away with some support ults now as Dridjo getting close to the Nano Boost himself. Maybe he's going to appropriate it a little bit differently than what we saw from Bach earlier, and Marine Lord has the Transcendence as well. They deny any ticks captured there. As Kib is coming back on the Roadhog, they're going to look for a second take on the same composition as Kib swapped earlier, but now need to really look to try to deny these supports in the back line, because they need to deny that purpling that keeps coming out from the Biotic Grenade. They need to pull the Transcendence out if they can. They don't have a flanker to do that, so it's just going to be all-out aggression to force this out.
See if they're going to be successful, as Bach 1 will be the prime target here for this defensive lineup, as Chubbs picks up the first kill. The Blade is going to come out, picks up a double, make that a triple. Naga with the Dragon Boosted Dragon Blade, just able to clean up house, and that's the big thing. If you shut down Bach, most of that healing is gone, even though Crusade is going to try his best to keep it up. Not going to be quite enough, and 3 ultimates committed for this side of Piece of Cake. Of course, when you're looking at those guys, they still have that sound barrier, they still have quite a bit building up for themselves as well, but time's taken away, man, and Marine Lord's still good to go with the Transcendence.
And this is where Ana Zen becomes very deadly. You're holding onto a Transcendence, tons of personal healing, and then on top of that, you have the purpling from the Biotic Grenade, which is massive as well. So expect to see them trying to sustain here, but if they don't find kills early, the Transcendence will come out. There's Marine Lord popping it now. They're looking to try to sustain Chubbs. That's going to be the Graviton to follow up, though. This is their big opportunity. They need to find tons of kills in this to secure an advantage going forward, and they are doing it. They did demech Happy Cool, but that won't matter in the end. He'll be able to just swap it back over. Kib going to be able to easily eat that pulse bomb that came out from Poppy Fresh. Now it's just all about finding that kill. They do just that. Naga now still sticking to the Genji as he's close to the blade, but a very slow time for those guys in consideration of, you know, what we've seen so far throughout this series and throughout this tournament from them.
And really nice patience at the very least coming out of Craggy, timing that one well. Marine Lord losing that Transcendence meant that the healing was just really lacking for them. And now Nanobus will be used. Blade is going to come out, but the Air Shatter could potentially shut it down as the charge is going to follow suit and making it a 2-for-1. But Colsty still answering, getting the second support down here for the offensive side. And without any supports available for them, you would like to see the defensive side potentially still holding, but one tick already achieved. Second one coming in close. Reaper is going to be the choice as they will look to contest, but even with those spawns, Bach is able to run back. Bounty is going to drop down. However, it's not going to be quite enough. Almost achieved. However, Poppy Fresh finds a kill with a pulse bomb. Naga gets Crusade as he comes back from spawn. Colsty gets a double off of the self-destruct, and it still might not be enough as Poppy Fresh, last member, now finally reinforced by Chubbs, will be enough to eventually push this attack away for now.
Craggy got caught out there as well, so they stopped them, but only one tick left is required. And they should have enough time to work with now as Bach has Coalescence to sustain. They have the impact combo between the Graviton Surge and the Whole Hog to drop down. Marine Lord does not have his Transcendence. Naga just swapped over, so he won't have his Riptire for quite some time. If they can take these guys off of the high ground, put some pressure on them early, and Hafikul is going to be charged with that duty, then they could actually make this work for themselves. Naga will fall down. Here's the opportunity. Look for the Graviton. Try to get as many caught in it as you can. Try to control the objective with it as well. Poppy Fresh trying to turn things around. There's the Graviton. It doesn't get eaten up by Colsty. They put the Transcendence in it as Marine Lord was given just enough time, and Fusion's trying to turn things back around with the Earth Shatter now.
But it was the bubble that kept the rest of this lineup safe. However, not safe enough as the Marine Lord's gonna go down. Chubbs gets killed off in the end. Colsty should follow suit for that mech. Craggy pick up a D-mech and a kill, and it will be eventually those guys getting the point, but not before losing quite a bit of time, as they will be going into another offensive round here on Horizon.
So 451 to 248. 2 minutes difference. You know, of course, give or take 3 seconds, but 2 minutes of a difference. That could really mean a lot here on an assault map like this, Horizon Lunar Colony. But now you have to wonder, what kind of composition are we going to be seeing, not only from the attacking side, you know, is it going to be a tank strat, or are they going to go for a more collective dive? Or are we going to see, you know, something different from them? Last time we saw those guys, just, you know, moments ago on their attack, they started things off with what was a tank strat, and that's exactly what we're seeing at the moment. But again, they have to look to try to deny Dridro and Marine Lord in the back. They have to find a way to put pressure on them early on, or else they're going to get biotic grenaded, they're going to get discorded, and they're going to get ripped apart. That is a problem that they had before, especially with Poppy Fresh and Naga taking some different angles, and Chubbs and Colsty just kind of poking and prodding, trying to create a little bit of space, creating a little bit of extra room for their supports, Dridro and Marine Lord again. So I'm looking to see how this is going to be executed, because I do like this composition from those guys. You know, it just has to be executed properly so that they can put some pressure onto what is going to be a struggle for them going forward in the antibiotic grenade and the discord from Marine Lord.
And of course, we did see Bach one have a huge target on his back, always seemingly being the first one to go down for his team. We'll look to stay safer this time around, as we'll see somewhat of a similar approach. Not really shut down for now. Will force the rest of Piece of Cake in a potential disadvantageous position as they will drop down. Already Naga dropping quite low. Chubbs as well. Colsty might lose his mech here too. Poppy Fresh forces a recall. It's gonna be Chubbs first one to go down, and definitely much better approach coming out of those guys, that they're gonna be able to pick up a double kill there for Crusade as well. Make that a triple.
The thing is here is what they did instead of getting aggressive and just jumping on them on what are two of some of the more diveable support heroes. I mean, all they really did was they just denied the sight lines. Don't give the opportunity to get the discord out. put the shield up on fusions as often as possible, and just go ahead and find the kills on the point and get the control so that they can't even take the fight anymore. Now they're going to go on to the objective with Coalescence, looking to try to get Happy Cool to get his ultimate in time so that if he does drop out of mech, he will be able to self-destruct and get it back so they can keep this control going forward. Transcendence now forced out for Marine Lord.
But the blade is going to be following up by Naga. Can he find those kills? No, it's going to be him finding the hook, and a bigger one at that, as he will shut him down. Primal Rage as well as the Sound Barrier will be used from both sides, but it is a man advantage here for the attacking side of those guys. Now Nano Boost will be used. Poppy Fresh looking for more. He's going to be the second time to target of that pulse rather the Nano Boost as he gets a kill out of the Pulse Bomb. Now Self-Destruct is going to push the rest of them away. Craggy now, under the effects of that Bionade, will be forced to regroup with the rest of his team, but those guys still fighting back. Poppy Fresh gets that kill in the end. Coalescence will be used alongside that. Whole Hog Crusade will be purpled up, but it's going to be one tick achieved. Getting close to that second one. Chubbs coming back from spawn with Cold Steel and Poppy Fresh still looking to answer, and Poppy Fresh with a jukes gets to dodge that Earth Shatter, but we might still see those guys getting the point in the end.
However, we did see Trijo come out ahead in a duel against a Lucio. He got the Sleep Dart off and was able to take him down. That might be an impact pick, as now we're seeing Crusade coming back into the fight. He did make it, and those guys are still cleaning up right now, so maybe it won't have as big of an impact as they were hoping for. Still taking him out of the fight long enough to maybe get him down on the Sound Barrier race a little bit further. And now the wall comes down from Naga. He's trying to come back in with the Transcendence from Marine Lord, as they're looking to try to create some kind of foothold, but with Craggy popping off like this, putting pressure on Marine Lord in the back, the hook comes out from Kim, secures the kill there. They will be able to take this, and they'll have time left on the clock after doing so as well.
And at that point, it was just Piece of Cake trying to say, okay, let's at the very least try to delay things as much as possible, that we might only give up that point in overtime. However, it will be those guys picking up in the end with 24 seconds remaining, and now it will be swapping over sides, and we will see those guys definitely potentially expect that same composition out of Piece of Cake with the likes of Naga and Farah, and overall dive heavy comp. What are you gonna do if you're those guys? Are you really gonna go for the counter dive? It seems like so far that might actually be the choice.
Well, the question here is, betting on what Naga is going to play, because if he goes for the Pharah, you need to have a certain look. If you think he's going to go for the tank pickup, you need to have a different look. If you think that he's going to go for the Genji, you need to have a different look. So, I mean, there's so many different things that they need to account for. And if you look right now, 30 seconds away, it seems like Piece of Cake has decided it's going to be a tank composition. So now, it's one of those situations where those guys are going to see this as it comes through, and they're going to be like, ah, damn. Because they're going to want that Mei. They're going to want that. Yeah, they're going to want that Mei. They're going to want that that Junkrat that they had last time. But luckily for them, at the very least, they will still have the Ana. They'll still be able to put pressure on multiple angles. We saw this before, how, when you have the Genji, it can still get things done as well, especially if you can Nano Blade it up and be a little bit more elusive on this Genji. I would say in this matchup here, Kib is probably the best Genji, in my mind, just given the performance that we've seen so far in this tournament, but already getting aggressive to start things off. Expect these blades to come up pretty quick, especially if you can get a couple of massive Swift Strikes through the entirety of this tank pack here that's just kind of clustered up together.
He did manage to make it out alive of that one, as we'll see the rest of Piece of Cake now surging forward onto the point, almost getting that first tick on the board. However, the Bionade is going to make things difficult, force that fade out of Marine Lord. It's going to get close to that Coalescence. Poppy Fresh able to pick up the first kill onto Craggy. A big one at that, but can they snowball this to a point take as the Bionade is going to come out again? Blade is going to be popped, and Kib picks up the first kill. Happy Cool desuited, however, as we will see the rest of Piece of Cake still coming out on top. Kib is going to go down. We will see Crusade still dancing around on the point. Nano Boost used on Fusions, but he will manage to find one kill of his own, so maybe, just maybe, they can still do it, as the Pulse Bomb is not going to find the target, but still fighting here on this point. Those guys looking to push them away, and they might just do it.
That Pulse Bomb on my Spectator actually did stick, but it was that same bug that we saw in the Overwatch League where it was not the case. Chubb's massive plays from him, taking out both supports. That's huge, as Crusade, I think actually he got denied on his Sound Barrier, if I'm not mistaken there. So that is huge to have him come through on that kind of play. And again, those guys will be denied, in a quick take now for Piece of Cake as they re-engage for a second fight. And Poppy Fresh coming away Not on the Tracer, of course, on the Zarya instead, but with the Graviton Surge at 88%.
And with that pin alone, that is definitely, in my eyes, would really seal the deal there for Piece of Cake. But now coming in hot with the Earth Shatter is going to get Happy Cole as well as Crusade on the ground. 6v5 Coalescence will look to keep Crusade, or rather Chubbs, alive, as Naga's going to pick up a double kill onto Craggy. Now Happy Cole really low, might be desuited, forced to use that self-destruct. Chubbs bullied around, will go down in the end. However, we might still Piece of Cake come out on top as Poppy Fresh does have that Graviton. Will he use it, however, as Fusion still finds a kill onto Naga this time around. Craggy onto Bastion, looking to chew for those targets. Dridro is going to find a kill onto Fusion. Self-destruct will be used out of the side of Colsty. Doesn't get any kill out of it though. And now with Marine Lord getting a kill to Happy Cole, it's still a back and forth. Graviton is going to keep them away, however, and with that, it's going to be enough for Piece of Cake to seal it out in the end.
And the fact that they have these dynamic attacks, that really kind of hurts those guys a lot, because, you know, when they go into these fights, they don't know what to expect. We saw two different looks defensively, and now again it's going to be those guys attacking first as they have the lesser of the two time banks. But again, I mean, just the different type of plays that we've seen come out attacking wise, the different strategies and set plans from Piece of Cake, it's hard to gauge what to expect. And, you know, it's easy for us to sit here and speculate and say, you know, these are the different things that we could see happen. But when you really put it into effect, obviously they they don't see what we see. They can't see the heroes that are picked out. But, you know, another thing is that it's just it's a coin toss to some degree. And we saw it before, how, you know, it's one of those situations where you have to eventually make a pick, and if you guess wrong, then that's just unfortunate. And so far, those guys have guessed wrong twice, and that's I think really kind of something that we need to commend Piece of Cake for throwing that kind of wrench in their plans. Has given them an opportunity now where they've been taken out so far 2-0, looked a lot better on Hollywood, but now they look like they're poised to take this map and maybe send us into a fourth.
We'll see Naga this time around on the Ferris, so we'll see whether or not this aggressive push coming out of those guys will be enough to make sure that Naga doesn't find most of those sidelines, just like last time. As we'll see, Poppy Fresh still on the Tracer, looking to scout things out, looking to do quite a bit of damage off of said high ground. Naga looking to displace them potentially with that first kill, especially onto Bach again. That first kill onto the Moira is just so huge, as he will be able to get another one onto Crusade. Both supports down. Kib answers with one kill onto Colsty. Chubbs going down as well, but is it going to be enough? Naga's going to drop really, really low, but gets the D-suit out to Havikol. Kib gets a hook. Manages to secure one kill onto Dridro, so it's not over just yet. But Marine Lord, Poppy Fresh, and Naga still fighting it out on the point.
Now you have to wonder, do they have enough time to come back together? Poppy Fresh putting some pressure down. We'll find the kill onto Crusade, so a second fight where they won't have one of their supports very early on, and Naga sealing the deal. Those supports never got to play the game in that push there. Deny them. Now they have 3 minutes and 19 seconds. We're going into a map 4. No matter what happens here, we will go into a map number 4. They have secured it now. Now it's just a question of, will they come away with a map win, or will this be a tie? 3 minutes to defend this first tick. And again, you have that issue of, what do you expect from Piece of Cake? Are they going to come with a Pharah? Are they going to come with a regular dive? Are they going to come with a tank lineup? There's just so many different looks that we can see from Piece of Cake. So dynamic with their attack, so dynamic with their strats. It becomes a little bit of a sticky situation now, because 3 minutes hold. You have no time to adjust. If you mess up once, if you pick the wrong thing now, it's over.
And at the very least for Piece of Cake, considering the fact that they are on the attacking side, they can adjust, they can make those changes if need be, and so far seemingly sticking to that Pharah once again on Naga. Colsty, I would expect him to go once more on the Diva, of course, and they might still swap it back to that quad tank lineup, who knows. Whereas over on the defensive side, will be Craggy on the Tracer, Kip on the Junkrat, Bach on the Ana. So I'm wondering whether or not now they're gonna just say, okay, let's play our strongest, one of our strongest potential comps here, and just try to deal with whatever they throw at us. And Craggy on the Tracer is definitely gonna be, at the very least, annoying here for those supports.
this is a lot more versatile. You have the Ana to deny the tank comp, especially with Junkrat. If they dive in, you can anti-dive, or rather counter-dive, I guess is the better term to put down. With Kib as well. You know, they have the sleep dart. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this, but they're already trading 1-for-1 here. And now Happy-Cool going to lose his mech. I would say this is all but secured for Piece of Cake already.
Especially since Naga and Poppy Fresh were off just single-handedly by themselves, rather, taking down those supports. We'll find that kill into Kib. Nobody to contest right now, and it is going to be a win here for Piece of Cake, fighting back and getting their first map loss for those guys in the playoff stage.
So they're going to move on now to Junkertown, going to be the escort map for the 4th map here for us. And again, this is a best of 5, so this is still going to be series point or match point, whatever you want to call it, for those guys. Certainly keeping their opposition in that mode of desperation, but they battle back, and here's going to be those guys going into Junkertown up against Piece of Cake in the next map. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
It does seem, Brunch, we are not going to see a trio sweep by those guys. Poppy Fresh played an insane match. He probably heard my calls prior to the game. And he delivered a lot on Tracer. He was getting picks left and right, and in my opinion, that's the main reason why they basically won this map.
I think it's also due to the fact that Naga's still playing really well on the heroes he needs to. And then Dredger also picking up the slack when it comes to playing that Ana. He showed us in the past how excellent he is on that Mercy. And it's nice to see him also do really well on that hero too.
Yeah, we did also see Naga get denied a lot of times with Kib hooking him or getting other shatter by Fusion, which was kind of sad to see. But overall, they played
Hey,
good.
got that play of the game.
Yeah, he did get the play of the game indeed. I mean, they look good. And now we're gonna go to Junkertown. And before we do that, it's very surprising to see that those guys did kind of weak compared to what we've seen. And this is basically their first loss map in the playoffs.
But at the very least, going into this next one, it is looking good for those guys. They look strong when it comes to those escort maps. And on top of that, Junkertown, overall, looking at the whole tournament, was one of the weaker maps here for Piece of Cake at the start. In the group stages, really losing out on that one. And now looking a little bit better overall. We'll see whether or not they can keep up, or if they kept up working on their issues when it comes to Junkertown to really still keep the series close.
I also think they've lost, if I remember correctly, on the first point on Junkertown.
It was right before the second one. That was the bane pretty much for a lot of these teams.
So do you think they had enough time to maybe fix their mistakes?
They looked better on Junkertown during the playoff stages, so if they kept working on it, then I would say yes, most assuredly.
Craigie against Poppy Fresh, the Widow battle. What are we going to see here?
We might not see Widowmaker, but if it does come out, it will be exciting. It will most likely be in that first point, maybe towards the second one. And looking at what these teams preferred in terms of their comps overall, I'm curious whether or not Piece of Cake's versatility and just really will to swap between different comps will once again make things really difficult for those guys.
Fourth map is ready. Let's see what happens. Let's go.
Starting things off here, 2-1 in the series now, and it's going to be POC, Piece of Cake, on the first attack. Marine Lord right now looking like he's going to be on the Bastion, and you know, looking back at what we've seen in Junkertown, it's been a couple days now, hasn't it, that we've seen Junkertown, but you know, this is definitely a take that we've seen before, especially on first point. Now it's just going to be a question of how those guys want to answer it. And we will see a triple tank with Craggy on the Widowmaker here up against Poppy Fresh. This is going to be an interesting duel between these two now. Craggy has looked phenomenal, but so has Poppy Fresh. This will be an opportunity to see who can come out on top and who has the higher stock coming away from this battle. And the Widow battle as well. I mean, that's something to look out for, as I mean, primarily, I would say.
Sonic Arrow will be able to spot out 2 members, though, so they should know that most of them are set up beneath that particular house. And now we'll see Colsey still look for an angle here as the hook is going to come through. Poppy Fresh, though, picks up the first kill of the fight, making it a 6v5. And already things are looking on the up and up here for Piece of Cake, as we'll see in terms of those ultimates. Dridro already at halfway there towards the Valkyrie. Colsey still trying to set up with the rest of his team. Most of those guys will be able to regroup. Marine Lord, though, now looking for those shields, looking for those targets. Be able to do quite a bit of damage. Keep things really bad there as Bach is going to be forced to use that Coalescence. Valkyrie will be the answer, and we'll see whether or not Poppy Fresh, now coming off from the sides, will still get those kills. Dragon Strike used too.
They're just trying to deny Poppy Fresh here. A little bit of healing going over to Craggy, and Craggy lands the shot, so they secure the kill. That's one angle they don't have to worry about now with this multi-angle threat. Naga's still on the payload, though, and they're still holding out with Marine Lord, just laying out the damage onto these tanks, primarily holding this corner quite well. Now it's going to be the tank configuration coming out from Marine Lord, looking to try to secure the kill onto Bach. That's not going to happen, though, as he fades out into the nether, and now they're going to have nothing coming away from that, but luckily Naga found a kill onto Bach. They still have so much pressure being allocated towards trying to deny Craggy here. They both have vision on both sides, but now it's going to be Craggy coming around the other angle, and that's going to be a massive pick from Poppy Fresh.
As Chubbs gets the DC. Kip, though, still lurking off on the back lines, getting a kill of his own, but it's going to be Marine Lord pick up a double. Poppy Fresh with another one, and it will be Piece of Cake. With a lot of time left getting towards that first point, we'll look to get the second one, and Dridro will have the Valkyrie good to go as well.
Put Dridro back on the Mercy, and all of a sudden things start working out really well. Not that he was necessarily a problem, but they just look their best when they have these kind of old style, like last meta type compositions. That's where they really kind of shine a little bit, bringing out a Fair Mercy into play as well. I think that's their strongest look so far. But now it's going to be Kim and Craggy coming together on this double DPS combo, double flanker. And this is going to be massive here. Big plays from Kim to just shut down Naga there. And now they're going to be pushing them out. Easy fight. Quick one at that for those guys.
And I would expect to see some swaps come through as Naga did use that Dragon Strike. Chubbs even committing the whole hog, so I'm curious whether or not he's gonna swap to something like a Reinhardt. Yes, indeed is going to be a Reinhardt. Never mind, it is Winston instead, as once again a dive comp rounding themselves up here for piece of cake with Naga once more on that Pharah. And yes, you have Kib on that Genji, Craggy on the Tracer, but outside of Bach, no one will have too much of an easy time to really deal with the likes of Naga.
Well, the Winston D.Va, they really want to put some pressure on Kib a little bit, and especially with Naga going out onto the Pharah, they definitely want to try to deny these flankers to some degree. Sound Barrier going to be forced out now as the Nano Boost comes out as well. That's going to be onto Half-Cool. It's the second time we've seen now that they do this, and that's going to be a health pack denied by Poppy Fresh so that he can secure the kill onto Bach, but the rest of his team falls. And with Drijo going down as well, Naga cannot sustain this fight any longer. And another fight win for those guys. And Kib very close to the blade here.
And this second point was consistently their bane here for Piece of Cake throughout the group stages. So we'll see whether or not will be those guys once again with a good hold, as they do have so many ultimates to work with. Blade, as he said, good to go. Fusions could shut down this push with an Earth Shatter, considering we only would potentially see Chubbs with a barrier, but it's gonna be Marine Lord first one to go down. Craggy once again big on that Tracer. Pulse Bomb kill for him. Crusade picks up another, and just like that, only Pulse Bomb committed. Never mind, Fusions did use that Earth Shatter too. It will be, however, once again those guys winning out.
Kib holding onto the blade here. Feels like I've said that before, but being patient with it is going to be important now because, you know, as you look into these next coming fights, you need to put pressure on some of these primary targets, you know, whether it be the tanks or whether it be, you know, the DPS or trying to find Drijo in the sky as well. There's a lot of different things that you have to account for when you pull out this blade because there isn't just an easy answer. You can't just dive into a Zen or something like that in the backline.
And we'll see now the Valkyrie being popped early. Rocket Bar's looking for the targets, but Kib is gonna get him out of the skies. Now still holding onto the blade. Bach is gonna go down, however, Primal Rage used by Chubbs, and Drijo's gonna go ahead and get the res through. And overall, still, it's going to be Piece of Cake fighting it out on the point. However, Craggy answers with a kill onto Marine Lord. Once again, Fusions trying to swing left and right, gets an Earth Shatter onto Colsty. However, that's only going to be his single target off of it. Chubbs picking up that kill in the end, and as we will see Drijo drop really low, he will manage to still somehow stay alive, and slowly but surely Piece of Cake are once again finding the space they need and getting that point potentially. But Bach answers with at the very least one kill onto Poppy Fresh.
They're going to be able to re-engage, though. Craggy stalled it for just long enough. He's going to find a different angle. They have the Nano Boost to engage with. They could go with Fusions here if they want to. I would say stay away from Half-Cool, but they're going to instead put it onto Craggy. He's going to be able to rip down these tanks, some of these supports too, but the Fade comes out, and that's going to be Marine Lord getting away, and not only that, but also popping the Coalescence, putting some heals onto Naga. They have so much support here. Now trying to put some extra damage onto Kib as well. This should be, over time, Piece of Cake taking this, perhaps in overtime, but I don't even think they're going to need that. With about 2 seconds left, make it 1.5. They do secure it. Piece of Cake going now into the third stage.
And they will have that Valkyrie up, available and online once more for Drijo, whereas Naga with a Rocket Barrage will look to have even more success this time around. Over on the defensive side though, Crusade with an answer with that Sound Barrier could once again potentially shut down this next push. Kib, as he will just swift strike away, get the blade on top, could be really the thing to seal the deal here. But Naga still finds a kill onto Crusade, and it's a big one at that, and it is no Sound Barrier. Poppy Fresh gets another, Bach goes down too, and Piece of Cake might still do it.
They will be able to take this fight, it looks like. Poppy Fresh popping off all over the place right now. They're going to take Half-Cool down. He's taken a lot of time to die off, and we will see the regroup from those guys now, as they're looking to just defend again. But they do have a lot of options here. Sound Barrier, they have the Earth Shatter, they have the Blade. We haven't seen much from the Blade so far from Kib. I mean, really kind of anything at all. Last time we saw him go for the Mercy, and Drijo just dodged out of that one, so.
We'll see now. go ahead and use it, as he will look for those targets. However, he will get Marine Lord in the end. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of those guys. Self-destruct being used as well. However, it is going to be Colsty going down. Jojo gets the resurrect onto Chubbs, but nothing else for now. As overtime kicks in, they need to turn things around, but it will be those guys still getting the kills. Craggy with a pulse bomb one. Happy Cool with another one onto Dridro. The self-destruct. And Marine Lord will come up from the side, but it will not be able to make it in time. And we will see 2 points at the very least and quite a bit of distance achieved on that payload here for a piece of cake.
It's a piece of... I mean, it's winnable for both teams right now. And anybody that was a naysayer before, people that said, oh, well, Mercy's dead. I mean, it's clearly not. Dridro has done phenomenally so far for piece of cake on that particular character. You know, he's been able to get these reses off. He's been able to be elusive on the Mercy, especially a post-res, which is very, very important. Yeah, it's not, you know, reses all over the place like it was before, but it's, in that way, just not as egregiously, like, I mean, it was disgusting before. Let's be honest. It was disgusting before. And now it's a lot, it's definitely in a much more balanced state, I think. You know, it seems like something that you can pull out, but isn't necessary exactly as it was touted as in the PTR before by a lot of the professionals. Weird how the professionals know what they're talking about, I think. You know, that's a crazy take. But so anyways, Dridro, yeah, he's going to be back on the Mercy again. They're just going to go with that composition that they looked, you know, pretty strong on before the patch. They're still sticking to it. This is still a map, and this is still a point where you can, you know, take out a Mercy. I think it's going to be very effective for them. I mean, yeah, Dridro is known to flex to this hero probably more often than any other support, especially now in the given patch. But still, this is one where you can still see it from any support, where it's still effective because of the fact that you have the Widow in play. You can boost that up. You can boost Marine Lord up with the damage boost, of course, and still find some of those picks while also getting off a couple of those reses, because the corners allow you to do that. You can be a little bit more elusive, you know, get the safe reses behind walls, behind LOS.
And we've seen how difficult in the past has been really to just, for any team to hold off to that first point stall and first point hold, as Pavical will be once again on that Diva. Craggy is going to look to contest with the Widowmaker and get the best out of Poppy Fresh once more, as will be 3 tanks up online here for those guys looking to get an angle, looking to push that payload further. Naga will be looking towards him to see whether or not he can really charge up that Riptire quickly, because with the likes of a Junkrat just spamming away that primary fire, it's gonna just make things really difficult here for this lineup of those guys potentially. But Craggy opening up with a kill. It's gonna be Big Dridro. It's gonna be available, but is gonna go down punished instantly for that res, as Craggy gets a triple, the second kill rather, onto Poppy Fresh. Oh man.
So one of the main reasons why Mercy looks so good is because, you know, when you take Widowmaker battles, having the Mercy at your disposal gives you a distinct advantage over the opposition, because you can, if you lose the first one, guess what? You have take 2 coming your way. One second while I get this res off. They pull him back up, but Craggy not only takes that second duel, but he kills off the Mercy in the process. That's a big opening now for those guys with some momentum to keep surging forward with this 3-tank composition. Now just need to kind of put some pressure onto this high ground if they possibly can, but they have some ult to work with pretty soon. It's just going to be about if they can deny Naga here. He's been known to really shut these pushes down, especially when he has a Riptire, and I don't know if they're going to be able to have an answer for that.
Especially since Fusions will have a really difficult time getting a good Earth Shatter potentially here. But Craggy once again gets a kill onto Poppy Fresh. Kip finds one onto Dridro too, and that could just be enough, as he will see Chubbs drop down, being picked up to make that another kill onto Chubbs rather, as Colsty was available up top. Wow. And now Kip and Co cleaning up house. This is going to be a very easy stroll for Junkertown for those guys.
And remember, it was really kind of off the pivot from Naga that, you know, if they're able to get a big Riptire here, they should deny it. But look at this time bank that those guys have afforded themselves. Just under 6 minutes. Just under 360 seconds that they've afforded themselves for this push. And that's massive, because they have so much time to not... I mean, they don't even have to go the distance. They just have to get, you know, pretty far. So now as they go into this stage, you know, there's a lot of different answers that Piece of Cake could have, but they have a lot of time. They have to space these ultimates out. And there's the Earth Shatter coming down from Fusions, and Havicool with a massive follow-up 3K. They clean things up so easily. They still have options now to go forward with. Transcendence still ready for Marine Lord. They still have Naga on the Riptire, so the main takeaways that you want to look for here are what kind of impact Naga can have, but twice in a row now, he has been denied.
But we'll see whether or not he can be the hero his team needs, as the payload is going to be really close to that destination. Craggy no snipes it. He gets it. And Craggy on fire on that Widowmaker is going to look to seal the deal here. Popping that Coalescence. However, Poppy Fresh finally returns fire with a kill of his own. Sound Barrier still available for Crusade, as he's going to be able to pop that one up. And the rest of the team here, for Piece of Cake, are going to look to find those kills in the end, eventually getting a good defensive hold. But 4 minutes and 33 seconds is the time that they still need to defend this one here.
And if I'm Craggy, I'm trying to think of ways to deny Naga if I can. You know, do I want to go Tracer, or do I want to, you know, stick to this Widow to try to see if I can get a couple of crazy headshots to deny Poppy Fresh? He's looked good so far in this matchup, but the last two times Poppy Fresh got the better end, and he does indeed right there. And now we'll see Poppy Fresh coming away with a stifling first blood. And now we'll see Craggy coming back on the Tracer, as I was talking about.
And now, all of a sudden, the ultimates are in the advantage of the defensive side, as we'll see Jojo get close to the Sound Barrier now. Naga looking for an angle with that Riptire. Can he get anything done? He gets a double. Both supports are going to be going down. Craggy finds them in the meantime, as Fusion's gonna swing away and gets the kill onto Chubbs. They might still do it. Earth Shatter gonna come through, gets Jojo on the ground, but the Transcendence will manage to keep him safe. And even though Craggy is still contesting, he made things really difficult here for Piece of Cake.
The interesting thing there, though, is that they stacked their support ultimates. Dridro and Marine Lord both stacked them up and didn't really get much use out of the Sound Barrier, I'd say. So now as you look to this next fight, Bach's going to have his Coalescence coming up right now. Tons of healing opportunity, and they're going to have nothing to do anything with outside of this Graviton, so they need to make this Graviton count, and already it's kills on the board for those guys. Remember, they still have that Coalescence, so no answers, man.
Oh, even though the Earth Shatter card free, no follow-up means Cam is going to be able to find a kill at the camp. They're rather onto Chubbs, as they're going to be pushing them away. And it's going to be those guys winning it out on Junkertown, getting the win in the series, advancing to the grand finals. GG.
So now going down into the loser bracket, it's going to be Piece of Cake taking on a very strong Angry Titans. They've looked good so far. You know, in the matchup, you expect that that's going to be a pretty tight series. This was already one of those, so we'll have to see who comes ahead to see who will take on those guys in the grand finals. We'll have that next matchup with the losers bracket coming up next after these commercial breaks and a short break as well.